Good morning, everybody. As you heard yesterday from the Prime Minister, the National Cabinet made some important decisions about what individuals should and shouldn't be doing in the next phase of controlling the spread of this virus. I'm pleased to say that New South Wales will be acting quickly to enforce those provisions that were discussed last night. Firstly, gatherings outside or inside should not be more than 2 people unless it's your immediate family, and that is something that we will enforce. But I also want to remind everybody that you shouldn't really be leaving home unless it's for work, for school, for essential things that you need to buy, or else if you need to seek medical attention or exercise. They're really the only reasons you should be leaving your home. If you can work from home, you should. If you can learn from home, you should. If you can do everything from home, you should. It's only in these very exceptional circumstances that you should be leaving home. I'm pleased to say that the community has responded quite favourably in the last few days. We've seen a marked difference in people's behaviour, but still there are pockets of people not doing the right thing. Please take the advice we've provided. It's based on health advice. It's not things that anybody has made up. This is based on health advice. The experts who meet daily give us advice on what is the best way to control the spread. New South Wales has now measures in place, and I want to thank the Commissioner for Police for making sure that anybody who gets off a plane from overseas is in quarantine. We appreciate that's frustrating for people, but it's to protect the broader community because we know that the vast majority of cases in New South Wales have been acquired from people who've either been overseas or are a direct contact to someone who's been overseas. I also want to say to the people of New South Wales, there isn't anybody anywhere else in the world I'd rather be than in Australia at the moment. We are doing our best to make sure we control the spread and we keep people out of hospital. But especially to our older Australians, to our older people, if you're over 70, you shouldn't be leaving home at all. I know this is difficult, and I appreciate that for some parts of the day people might want to get out and exercise. That's okay, so long as you don't come into contact with anybody else. We know this disease, this virus is particularly has a horrible impact on those who are older and vulnerable, and it's really time for us to protect those most vulnerable in our community. And can I stress, please take care of each other, but also make sure people over 70 are not leaving their home, and make sure they've got support. And if anybody feels isolated or needs things and doesn't have anybody to help them, please ring our 24-hour number in New South Wales, 13 77 88. We'll make sure you get that support and that assistance. I know that we will all come together and adjust to these changes. I know that people are doing their best. From my own community, from people in and around me, I know that people are all doing their best to adjust to these new circumstances, and I want to thank everybody for that. We're going to get through this. We are in a position now which allows us to control the spread as much as possible. And I want to echo the words the Prime Minister made a few days ago. We are Australian. Every system in Australia, every state in Australia is different to what's happening overseas. We do look to overseas for examples of what's gone on. We do take evidence from what's gone on overseas. But please know that what we're doing here in New South Wales is based on our best advice. It's based on health advice. And we're doing everything we can to reduce the spread and keep people safe and make sure that people get these warnings. And I also want to thank everybody's patience, because I appreciate it's been a lot to absorb the last few weeks. It's been a lot to absorb the last few days. But I'm confident that once people have absorbed the new changes we've made, and in New South Wales in relation to public gatherings, in relation to reasons why you should leave the house, that comes into effect from midnight. But of course we want everybody to practice that from today, but enforcement of it starts from midnight. But of course we want everyone to practice that during the day. But I know that once everybody has absorbed these changes, once everyone has worked out what works for them, we'll all adjust. We'll all adjust. And we'll all think of innovative ways to get through this as best we can. And I'm still optimistic about our capacity to adjust, our capacity to support one another. And who would have known that a phone call or a text message can have so much more significance today than it used to before. And those little things matter. Those little touches matter. And I know that once we bed down what we've announced in the last few days, that the community will feel a bit better about moving forward, a bit better about what the future looks like over the next few months. And I want all of us to get used to these changes. It's for our own good. And especially can I give a message to people in their 20s and 30s. You are not immune from this. And even if you are, you risk spreading it to people you love or spreading it to people in the community who are vulnerable and will lose their life because of this. So please think about others. And I do use that age group in particular because we know we're seeing an increase in the stats in that age group, but also the worst offenders in terms of not sticking to the rules are those people in those age groups. And I know, apologies to those of you doing the right thing, but in particular I need to get out the message that you can't just socialise as you used to. That's not allowed anymore. All of us have to adjust. All of us have to play our part. And hopefully all of us will look back on this period as a time of difficult times, but also a time when all of us came together, stuck together and did the right thing by each other. I'll now ask Dr. Chant to give her daily update, Commissioner Fuller to give an update on what he's doing to support efforts in the community for people to stick to the rules, and then I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Premier. So I'm reporting that we've had 127 cases reported since 8 p.m. on the 27th of March. In comparison, we had on Sunday announced 174 cases, on Saturday 212. So whilst it is pleasing we've seen a stabilisation in case numbers, it's important to know that they can vary and jump around day to day based on testing numbers. And so whilst pleased, we need to be cautious, and it is the long-term trend in that data that's going to be important. In terms of the proportion, we've got 1,185 overseas acquired, 376 which are locally acquired as a contact of a confirmed case or part of a known cluster. We've got 228 locally acquired that are not epidemiologically linked or a part of a cluster, and that is the group that represents the community transmission and which we'll be keeping a close eye on. And we've got 129 cases under investigation. We currently have had 8 deaths, and we have 26 cases in our intensive care units, and of those 26, 13 have required ventilators. Thank you, Premier.
Thanks, Premier. Thanks, Dr. Chant. Yesterday at Sydney International Airport, we received 1,400 passengers returning from overseas, and they were processed by Australian Border Force, and everyone was seen by a New South Wales health professional. Of that group, 40 remain in a deeper isolation through concerns in relation to possibly having the virus. No one is critically ill. They have all been transported safely with the assistance of Australian Federal Police and the Australian Defence Force into hotels across Sydney and remain safe but secure for the next 13 days. Can I say today we will see around 1,200 Australians returning to the airport, and they will be processed in the same way with the highest level of care, but at the end of the day protecting the individuals but protecting the other 7.5 million people in New South Wales. From a day-to-day crime perspective, crime is still down or stable. We're not seeing an increase in any crimes at the moment. Police are still responding to calls for service. We're out there to help you. We know there are some new laws that will come in line tonight in relation to two people being out together. That's sensible. We don't want to have to enforce these laws. We want to work with you. So we would just ask the public to read up on the new laws and be sure the police will be out there. Can I say the Crime Stoppers reports continue to grow because the community's dissatisfaction on how some people are embracing this emergency. So New South Wales is still open for business. The police are still out there protecting you. There are sensible escalations in terms of this, and tonight we will see some additional powers turned on. And this is all about the protection of the people of New South Wales, and it's also about protecting the economy. Thank you.